So close and yet so far. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now, as I've just finished the countryside scene, I thought I'll just take the opportunity to have another little go at the 323. Whether I get it finished in this little round or whether I get fed up with it again, I don't know. We'll see how far we get. You never know, I might have a working train by the end of it. That's the idea in the long term, but I might even manage it in the short term, you never know. But anyway, there it is so far, with its paper wrap, as I should say. That will be a water slide. And I did do a different cab end to that, and it certainly doesn't have a black roof at the end, but you can get the idea. And if I was to peel back some of this paper wrap, you can see there is flush glazing going on in there, and you can kind of see inside. But anyway, all that paper will come off. I think I will use this one. I might change the cab a bit, but that I'm quite pleased with the way that the structures come out. Now, this bit here was my original chassis. Now, it is very basic, very rough, very ready, but it just got the vehicle on the track, and that's all I wanted it to do for the time being. But now I'm starting to think about the interior and what that potentially might look like. Right, well, as you can see there, we've got a basic chassis of the two driving cars there, and please understand, I've not got the tooling that Bachmann would have or Dapol would have. So mine will be a basic representation. Now, when I first printed it, it looked absolutely terrible. Now, that was the first attempt at printing the interior. So you can see it really was a complete disaster. And I really did want the seats to have individual headrests. Just take you back to the computer like that. Now, just to recap you on the body sides, that's the basic idea. So you can see that's fairly well flush glazed, and then you've got this 3D printed part over the other side. Now, the idea would be, I did manage to close up some of these gaps a little bit, and still keep it relatively flush glazed looking, and then obviously the water slide transfers would go over the top of that. Then there would be an end, the cab, and a roof, and that would basically be the chassis or the body glued together. Welcome back. So you can see there's quite a lot happened since the last clip. In fact, this is a complete rebuild, Mark II, if you like. It's still quite rough and ready, and there is a lot to do in terms of filling up the gaps, moulding and refiling, all sorts of things like that. That's not painted correctly yet, but it all needs blending in and fitting properly. Now, the previous version I did feel was a little on the small side, and you probably heard me say that in the last clip of the last video I did on this. So I wanted to make it just a tiny little bit bigger, and this is the middle coach. So it has two windows missing there. Obviously the pantograph will go just there, and I do have one, and that's the other side. Okay, and then this one is exactly the same as the first one I showed you, i.e. that. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with the way it's all coming along so far. Now, I have gone ahead and made some other bits, like, for example, an interior. Now, you might think to me, well, why are you making an interior? You're not going to see it. Well, my original plan would be to put lights in it and have lights all the way through the train. That has been scuppered, I'm afraid, and there's nothing I can do about it, purely because of the Graham Farris chassis that I'm having to use, which is this. Now, this is, I'm not totally sure of the year, but pre-2010. If you remember when I was first thinking about doing this, the internet was saying that I should use a class 170, i.e. that. Now, I bought two, so there is another chassis in this one too, and that will be for another model if I choose to go for it, but that's what it was. And the one that you're looking at now is exactly the same thing. Okay, so it does take a little bit of working out. Now, obviously, this is taking up the whole of the middle car, but if I put that on, you'll see it does fit very nicely indeed, kind of like that. Now, there is one obvious elephant in the room, and that's the chassis here. Now, that's a work in progress at the moment. Now, please understand that I've only got photographs from the internet. I'm far too far away to go and look at these trains, but I do also have Dapol's scale drawings that they're doing for their 00 gauge model, but they are just elevation drawings. They are not, it's just side elevation drawings, and there's a 3/4 view and kind of an end cab view, but so I'm having to work basically on what I can find on the internet. Now, this piece, when I can get it to fit, will replace this piece because it's only held on by 2 screws, so that will replace that. The motor does come down into this block, that's hence this piece here. So I am going to have to reprint this with that recess already in it, and some screw holes, so I can literally just screw that onto the base there. So that will work quite nicely. Now, you might be thinking, well, have I done that for the front cab and the end cabs? Yes, there's the chassis for that, and that will be glued on there, kind of like that. All right, or I should say like that, because I've actually made one up. Now, if I put that on here, now this is that tense, nervous moment. Does it actually fit? Yes, it does. Hallelujah. Voila. Now, I must admit, when I did this, I thought, yeah, great, printed it all off, even got it all varnished up. As you can see, it's got the big shine on it. These transfers are ready to go. And then I noticed something. If you look, this is the front all down here, and that's also the front all down there. Spot the difference? Yes. I couldn't believe I'd missed it out, and even missed this one out as well. So I thought, right, let's get on to doing it again, which is what I've done. And yes, thought I'd got it all correct this time, except I've missed this one out here, haven't I? So, but anyway, I've got 3 from this sheet, so I'm really not worried about the odd one there. That will just have to go into the bin, I'm afraid. But it does mean I've now got 4 carriages, or 2 carriages worth here, and effectively another 2 carriages worth there. But also, if you notice at the bottom, I've also put some extra numbers. So if I did go mad and made loads of these, then I could just renumber them into different numbers, and the numbers are all ready to go, so that shouldn't cause too many issues. I have also put the 323 numbers on there. Only daft thing I forgot to do is do them yellow, and this is white paper, but never mind, it's not the end of the world. I might even be able to find a pen that will just block that all in. So you can see it's all starting to come together quite nicely, and this is the first time I've done that. And blimey, that gap is huge, isn't it? I'll have to do something about that. But that's the first little thing, if you like, of how this train is potentially going to look. Welcome back. Ready? Well, as you can see, I've got the 323 not complete. There's still things to do. I'll tell you about that in a bit. But certainly got it running and on DC. And the reason for that is, if you remember, I said that this was one of the Graham Farish 170s and they were not made DCC. Right, so before I go ahead and do any of these things, let's just enjoy it running around for a couple of times, shall we? Now, as you'll hear, it is quite a noisy train, but remember this is quite an old Graham Farish chassis. In the days when they thought it was okay to put the chassis in, it filled the whole carriage, but hopefully it'll quieten down a little bit on DCC once it's had a bit of a service. I think some of this makes it a little bit more noisy as well, the polystyrene. But I'm just so pleased to have this train running, and I was beginning to think it would never happen. Right, let's start thinking about these couplings then, shall we? So what have we got here? Well, we've got the motor units just there, which is the centre car, and obviously one of the driving ends, the two cabs, if you like, and obviously the other one would go at that end. So I've got two couplings to deal with on a 3-car unit, if that's not too obvious a thing to say. But when we look at the size of that gap, I mean, that gap there is absolutely enormous. We are looking somewhere in the region of about 12 mil, give or take. You know, so when you translate that into scale distance, we're looking 6 feet, 2 millimeters to the foot. So, you know, you can't even begin to imagine. That's the height of a person in between there. So we've got to do something about that. So what am I going to do? Well, I propose to use magnets first of all, before I go any further, which will be these. And these magnets, I think, are 4 mil. So I'll just line that up there. Is it 4 mil or 3 mil? I think it's probably nearer 3, but that will be absolutely perfect. And I think, I mean, there's a number of them there, and I have got a load more as well. This will be about right size for Engage. I don't think there'll be any issues with that. So what I'm going to do then, if you notice here, we've got a spring and a spring. Now, if I was to cut that off and mount the magnet to the end here and to the end here, I think that would cause derailments, because even though the bogies do turn the corner as such, I think we'd probably end up doing that ever so slightly, and because the magnet would want to do that, forgive my hands, it would basically cause the bogies to come off. Now, as I've noticed, like I said, we've got springs either side here, which means the couplings are able to turn, and if need be, I could cut that back ever so slightly. So what I'm going to do on this car, I'm going to cut the coupling off to leave a flat plate, and then glue a magnet to that. And then this side, I'm going to do the same thing, cut that off and make a flat plate. But even if I do that, I'm still, if I can bring that in, going to end up with a coupling gap of around about that, which will take me down to 7-8 millimeters. Now, I would like to try and get it closer still. So I'll do that first, just cutting the couplings off, and then we'll come back and have a look at it. But my point is, I might even cut there and cut about there. So I take off, say, another 3-4 mil, and then re-glue this piece back onto this piece that's left. Right, welcome back. Now, what I've done, as you can see, I've cut this back and I've now re-glued it to this. Now, you'll see a piece of plastic card on there, and that is because if you're familiar with one of these Engage couplings with the springs on, you'll notice that they pop out. So I've put that on there as to stop it from literally just coming out like that. But also I've put another piece on the top side, because this is obviously upside down, which then bridges the top of this with the top of this to give it a little bit of extra support. And again, I did use the spray. So, but look at the gap now. Now, although it's still not perfect, and it is still a little bit on the big side, you're looking, what, 5 mil there, 6 maybe, which is still on average about 3 foot, which is half the size of a person. But it's still, when we're talking model terms, that is considerably better than what it would have been before. Right, there it is. That's the gap. Now, I'd say that's probably about 2 to 3 mil. I've done both now, and I've put these 2 mil corridor connections onto there as well. So if I was to bend the train round, you can see, I think that's going to go around quite a significant curve. I'm not going to get the test layout to prove it again, but I think that would be absolutely fine. And obviously, if I just separate that off, you can see how the ease of that. And there's the job, if you like, and all painted up as well, so you can't really tell. I've even put a dab of paint on the magnets. Right, welcome back. Now, the train is complete, bar the DCC fitting. Now, as I've said many times before, this is an older Graham Farish split chassis. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the power contacts this, and this also then contacts the motor directly. Hence, it then runs on DC. And you've got a, I think that's a diode just there, which acts as a TV suppressor. Well, you might be thinking, what on earth has happened here? The decoder seems to have failed. No idea why. I put the red and black to the chassis, which would then be the track pickup, and I put the orange and grey through to the motor. And I did have to extend those wires, as I've showed you before, but I couldn't get it to run. I took it all out, put it on the tester again. Absolutely nothing. It just comes up short. So that's useless. I'm quite annoyed about it, because that wasn't a cheap decoder. Bought it brand new, but there we go. And as I've cut it up, cut bits off it, I can't even send it back. So equally annoying. But there we go. Now, I've gone through my box, and I did have 2 6-pin decoders. I've tested these, and the original idea, I originally took them out of things because they perhaps weren't performing to the best they could be, but it seems to be okay. It's only got to drive the motor. So I've put these wires into the tester, and it seems okay. And I've had the decoder straight into the tester as well. So at the moment, that seems to be all right. This is from a 6-pin harness, as you can see there, and it was almost like an extension piece, if you like. So sometimes you can't always plug the decoder directly into the socket, so you have an extension piece, and then you can sort of push it out the way. So I will get this fitted now and see how we get on with that. And hopefully by the end of the video, I'll have a running DCC fitted train. Okay, catch you shortly. Well, there it is. I'd like to say it was a finished train. Unfortunately, as I said on the titles at the very beginning of the video, on the thumbnail, so close, but yet so far. The actual visual train is complete, although I have just realised I've not put the number transfers on the ends, so I can still do that. Both ends still need those. But could I get it to run on DCC? No. It just kept shorting out. I nearly lost the second chip, and as I then saw like a lightning flash coming, and I smelt the smell on the second chip, and I thought, no, this is not happening. Gratefully, I tested the second chip on the tester and it still worked. Now, whether it's going to work efficiently, I don't know. But what I will do is try to recreate the chassis in 3D printed form and take the wires down to the individual bogies, because obviously each bogie has its own pickups, and I'll just wire it to those and then take it from there. But anyway, I'll give you a pass of the actual train itself. And you can see now the corridor connections are a lot more reasonable. And I've now got the roof sections on there with all the dots, and what I think is the air conditioning. The pantograph is probably not the right pantograph, but to be honest with you, it's what I've got. I'm not going to worry about it. And equally, there's part of the body that actually squeezes in, I think, this point, and I think it happens on both ends again, I'm not going to worry about it. I think Dapper will obviously do that when they make theirs, but I've also represented the couplings down there. It's got windscreen wipers fitted now, and the ends are flush glazed too. So it's not going to look perfect. It is a representation of the train, but nevertheless, the 323 is sitting in Piccadilly, and whether I get the energy to have another go at it just anytime soon, I might have a go tomorrow morning at printing the chassis and see if I can get it going. But on the other hand, if I get a bit fed up with it, I might just leave it for another couple of months, and I'll show you as and when I'm ready. But I will let you know, and I will promise once it's ready and running, I will show you. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry if that's a bit of a disappointing end to the video. I'm certainly most disappointed, I dare say, but there we go. That's the way life is sometimes, and we'll see if we can get it running at some point. Anyway, you take care of yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. Bye for now.